Welcome back to Gun&ShotTV. This is Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the 30 caliber M1 service rifle. Most people refer to these as an M1 Garand. I believe the original designer's name was John Garand, but he pronounced it Garand. I think there's an E missing for that pronunciation, but I guess it's his name. He can pronounce it how he wants, but I know in U.S. training films in World War II and stuff, it was always referred to as a Garand. It was not referred to as a Garand. So I always call it a Garand. You can call it whatever you want, but I think at some point you'd be a little bit pedantic to argue that it's wrong to say Garand. So this is designed in the late 30s. It was designed to replace the bolt-action 1903 Springfield. After World War I, we need a little bit better firepower to keep up with the machine guns and self-loading rifles that were on the horizon. So initially, there was a whole bunch of different trial rifles from different manufacturers that were tested. But what we ended up with was this design. Now, originally, there was an external magazine, and it was going to be an intermediate cartridge, like a 276, I believe it was. But brass decided that 30-06 was what we had, and we were going to stay with it. And they also decided that the external magazine could get lost, which was a concern, I know, with the bolt-action Enfields, or it could get jammed, which was an issue during World War I with the shot machine gun, etc. So that was one thing that got settled on was 30-06, an internal magazine, and this uses end block clips, which is kind of a nice change from a stripper clip because you just shove this in there and then it comes out when it's done. Another thing you'll see, very early ones had what's called a gas trap, and it was like the early machine gun designs where it actually captured the gas after it left the barrel to operate the action. But there were some reliability issues and some issues with cleaning. If you're finding corrosive and you get gas in that gas trap, you're going to have to clean it out, and it just was not the best system. So they went with a straight gas block that taps gas coming out of the barrel right about here, and then that gas gets shot down here into this piston system, shoves the piston back, shoves the op rod, and works the action. So these were actually made by a couple different companies. Springfield was the big manufacturer prior to World War II. There was also a contract that went to Winchester. After World War II, they were made by Harrington and Richardson, and this is an international harvester. They were also, I believe, made by Beretta on Winchester Machinery, but I think those were more for Italy. I don't know that those ever came back here as part of a military contract. So that's pretty much what you do. Now to load it, you pull the operation rod back. This is where you grab it. You shove your end block clip down here, and you want to keep your pinky right here on the op rod. So when you shove it in and it locks down, that op rod's going to fly forward. And if you don't get your thumb out quick enough, you're going to get what's called M1 thumb, where your thumb gets bashed to hell. So that's something, usually when you go to load one and you seat that end block clip, it won't actually slam forward. It can, but if it doesn't, you want to tap the back of this op rod and load the first round. You're going to fire your 8 shots. After the 8th shot goes off, this empty clip will fly out with a ping. It's an interesting point because supposedly during the Pacific Theater and to some extent the European theater, the opponents would wait to hear that ping because they knew that that meant you had to reload. So sometimes you'll see in movies or stuff like that, guys trying to make a ping noise to fake like they were out and stuff. I don't know specifically if that was necessarily as widespread as it is in films, but it's an interesting little tidbit that you do hear a really loud ping when that thing goes off. There's also, on this side, a release. And if you press, will shoot out the end block clip with whatever ammo's in there, so you can change it out with 5 rounds in and put in a fresh one if you needed to. But that's most of the operation stuff. You do have a couple interesting things. This is what's called a stacking swivel, and that's so you can stack the guns with their butts on the ground in kind of a teepee shape to keep them out of the mud when you were, let's say, grabbing some food or using a restroom or something in a group of guys and you all had rifles. So a lot of times you'll see these with leather. I think they're called 1907, M1907 slings. This has a later nylon sling just because the leather sling that was on it was a little bit ratty, and I wanted something I could beat up a little bit more and not have to worry about when I was shooting. If you're interested in one of these, what I suggest you do is you go out and look up the CMP program, which is a civilian marksmanship program. It was started by Teddy Roosevelt after the Spanish-American War. He felt that having civilians that could operate a rifle would be a great benefit to our country as a whole in times of need. So he started that along with other great programs like the national parks as a way to get service rifles into the hands of civilians. So this rifle came from what's called the DCM, which was the precursor to the current CMP program that was called the Director of Civilian Marksmanship. But this one, I believe, came in the 60s. My dad got it from a friend of his, and this is an actual all numbers matching IHC. Service rifles don't really actually have serial numbers that match, but the parts all say IHC, so it's an all matching rifle as issued. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really is outstanding on the M1 Garand. Obviously, it's a cool rifle. During World War II, the advance in firepower and being able to change a magazine so quickly by throwing in a new clip, and the semi-automatic action really showed an advance over the bolt-action rifles of both Germany and Japan. Halfway through the war, all the other Axis countries were trying to figure out ways to come up with a similar rifle that had the firepower and the semi-auto capability. And you do see in Germany they did come up with some very great designs in an effort to stave off the losses they were suffering. The Japanese, in fact, had a similar rifle they designed that was pretty much a clone of the M1 Garand that was made to fire their, I think the Arisaka, I don't know if it was a 7 or 6 millimeter, but that was interesting in that it was only a prototype. So at the end of the war, we did find some of those in prototype form, but they never reached production because Japan had some real issues with trying to get enough materials to just build what they had at the time. So if you do want to take one of these apart, they're really simple to take apart. All you really have to do is pull up on the trigger guard there. Then you have your whole trigger assembly. That all comes out. You can just lift up on the stock. And now the stock is off with your sling. And now you have pretty much your whole action. You can get to the gas system. You can pull the spring out here and take everything apart. You back out your gas plug screw, and you can take pretty much everything apart really simply without really any tools other than need a flat blade for this gas plug. But these are really great guns. Like I said, I urge you go get one before the CMP runs out of them. The installation is the reverse of removal, if you will. So the only thing that you do have to know is if you want to get one of these and you want to shoot it, you've got two options. Modern ammo that's more than 150 grain bullets or is higher pressure can cause issues. It can bend this op rod if there's a lubrication issue or other issues with the gun. So you can get a replacement gas plug that goes up in this front gas cylinder here. And that will allow you to adjust the amount of gas that's vented. And by doing that, you can then shoot heavier, more modern loads. These are kind of interesting too, because there's actually a tappet valve in this gas plug. And if you shoved a grenade launcher on there, it would depress that tappet and let the gas flow to run the grenade launcher. So I always think that's kind of neat because you don't often see people mention that interesting fact about the gas plug. But all in all, like I said, I recommend getting one. If you go to the CMP, you can get a pretty good deal on one right now. They're usually, I think, 10-20% below what they go for in the market anywhere else. But from what I've seen, the CMP is running out of Garands rapidly. There's been some changes with the Obama administration. And so there may not be much surplus coming back. So if you're interested, definitely go shoot an Appleseed, go do some sort of shooting match, get qualified to buy from the CMP, and you can get your own Garand before they run out. And that's pretty much it. I think I've posted a couple other videos of me shooting this rifle. There was one where I was shooting some trail boss loads through it and stuff like that. So if you're interested, look for those videos. But for Gun&ShotTV, this is Chris saying have a rootin' tootin' drunken shooting day. Thanks for watching.